I can't even hold all the books. Oh Lord. I'm not reading all of these. Okay. Oh my god. Okay. I'm gonna show you my TBR, but obviously I can't get through all of these books, but it's all of the books that I want to read in the next couple of months or the rest of the year or whatever. It's just like the mood. You know, when we think about the books we want to read, it's not always the for sure plan. It's just the books that when we see them, we're like, I want to read that right now. So these are all of those books for me. First up, I'm going to show you the books that I'm currently reading. So right now, I have 3 books that I'm kind of technically reading, except for I'm not really juggling between them. I really want to finish this book first. So starting off, I have What is Real by Adam Becker. This is the unfinished quest for the meaning of quantum physics. So I don't usually read about science, but I picked up this book because lately I've been really into the quantum physics thing, trying to understand it, because I'm on this whole like positivity, law of attraction, manifestation journey right now. If you are interested in that stuff, please click subscribe, because I'm trying to do videos about that, because I'm on that whole journey. So I'm basically documenting how I'm gonna get my dream life, because that's what I'm manifesting, right? I'm manifesting my dream life. So whatever that ends up looking like, I'm documenting the whole way through. So go ahead and subscribe if you're into that stuff. And also if you're into books, because I'm going to be doing book videos, of course. But anyway, so I picked this up because there's some kind of connection, some people say, between that, like if there's manifestation and if there is the law of attraction, they attribute it to quantum physics and stuff like that, and quantum entanglement and things like that, you know? So that's how I started hearing about that. And then it's all a lot of stuff that I don't need to go into detail about, but apparently the universe is not locally real. That's the whole thing. Look that up. And that means that some things might not be actually in one location and in one form at all times. It's really like impossible to explain. The reason I picked up this book is because I cannot understand this stuff, but I want to understand it as best I can, because I also wonder if it slightly proves or is evidence for God or for that spiritual realm, or for there to be some kind of other element, mysterious element in the world that we can't understand yet with science, but that they're discovering. So all of that is why I picked this up, and it's actually really good. I'm actually really enjoying the book. It's kind of crazy because I'm not a science type of person, but I respect science. Basically, it's going through the history of quantum physics and that study and that understanding, and it's got parts about various different scientists that we know about, like Einstein and Oppenheimer is mentioned in here. I really love that it's talking about also, like it had this whole part about World War II and the creation of the atom bomb, the nuclear bombs and all of that, and then just is really interesting. Like for a history person, I really like history, as you will see with the rest of these books. I really like history, so this is actually surprisingly very good, and it's helping me understand quantum physics. I actually kind of understand it now, and when I was watching all these videos online, I couldn't get it. I could not wrap my head around it. None of the people were explaining it well, but this is explaining it very well. So if you're into science, if you are curious about quantum physics, I highly recommend this book. It's very helpful actually, and I'm starting to get it. And now I'm seeing the world and I'm thinking about it a little differently. So that's what I'm currently reading. Then I'm also reading Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari, A Brief History of Humankind. This is super interesting too. I'm like barely that far into it because I haven't read it a lot since I've started this book. But it's very interesting, also from a history perspective. And, you know, for evolutionary biologist stuff, if you're into that, it's super duper interesting. I don't know how well this book stands up amongst biologists and stuff like that, because I know that, you know, researching these things, there's always debates, and they kind of go into that in this book. but it's super cool to read about. I think it's really, really interesting, the journey of human beings. I highly recommend this, but I'm barely very far into it. But that's one. Then I am kind of reading, this is also, I barely started it though. This is A Court of Mist and Fury, Sarah J. Maas. I'm going to do a video soon where I talk about my most recent reads and do some kind of reviews, because the first book of this series is going to be in that video because I did read that, A Court of Thorns and Roses. So if you want to know what I think about that book, subscribe once again, because I'm going to come out with that in a couple weeks. I'm going to do that video and I will talk about what I think, because I don't know if I don't love the writing style, but you'll have to watch that video to know what I'm talking about. But I'm reading these because my sister started reading them and she's really obsessed. And so she got me into it and I started this, and I do like this one more than the first one so far, but I haven't gotten very far. I can't wait to pick it up again. I just really want to finish the quantum physics book. But I mean, it's a fun read. It's a fun read, I have to say, but I'll talk about more of my thoughts in the next video. Okay, now we're getting into the TBR, because those are the ones that I'm currently reading, right? Okay. First up, next, after, I usually try to do like a nonfiction and a fiction at the same time. So I'm thinking my next fiction that I'm going to read is Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen. I have not read this ever. I have never read a Jane Austen book, and I have never read any of these romantic classics before. But I want to read this. It's actually shockingly small. I had no idea this book was this small. But I really liked this cover. I thought it was really pretty. I know it's quite washed out because of the light outside right now. But anyway, Pride and Prejudice. I want to read this for obvious reasons, because it's a classic. I enjoy the movie. It's very good. And I don't know, I might be writing a romance novel in my head, at least. An idea popped into my head last week, and then I just started like coming up with all this stuff, and I for some reason want to write a book. I already want to write a book someday that's like a science fiction robot kind of book, but then I just thought last week of an idea that I think could be a really good romance book, so I don't know, but I thought I would like to read some classic romance before I ever start writing my own book, because I don't even know how to write romance and write it well. Because, you know, I don't want to, I'm sorry to Sarah J. Maas, but I do not want to write romance like this. I want to write it in a classic way. And since I've never read it before, I have no idea how to do that correctly. So I need to do some research before I start writing any part of like this idea in my head, which may never become a book. I may never write it, but I'm really into this idea that I thought of. And I'm not going to tell you any part of it, but I may or may not do that someday. So I need to start doing some research. So Pride and Prejudice, literally this is on my next list. What? This is the next on the list? Whatever. You get it. Then we've got some history stuff. So as I mentioned, I really like history. I really like history books. And I want to learn about all sorts of parts of history, and I have a lot of like holes in my knowledge about history. So I mostly know about like American history and a little bit of European. Like I kind of know, I took a class on like the Renaissance, and then I know a little bit of like Irish history, tiny bit. Like I don't know a lot. And so I want to learn about like Russian history, Asian history, and then like everything. I want to learn all about that. But I thought first maybe I should get the broader story of history, then I can fill in the details, because I don't know the full timeline, you know, of everything in history. So I got these books. I got a lot of books that are similar, so I'm just going to basically read them all. But I was at Barnes & Noble and I saw this book a couple weeks ago, and this is The Outline of History, Volume 2, The Roman Empire to the Great War, by H.G. Wells. And this is only part 2, but they didn't have, or volume 2, and they didn't have volume 1, but I thought this could actually be very helpful. So I got this, and then I had to go online to get the volume 1, and this is super damaged because Barnes & Noble doesn't sell these volumes anymore. I think they just sold this one because I'm assuming it was just in their stock somewhere or nobody ever bought it. So I got this one, but I don't think that they sell this version anymore. But anyway, so I got this online for volume 1. This is prehistory to the Roman Republic. And they have really cool like pictures inside of this. Let me see if I can show more. So I really like that this had images, and then this one has really cool as well. This has like maps. Yeah, this one just mostly has maps, but it has some like portraits, little drawings. So I picked up these. So the next like plan for my history reading is to go ahead and read this volume 1, and then I will read volume 2. So I get that kind of, it's called the outline of history. So I can get that outline of history, right? And then I also have another one that's also just like an outline of it. The Penguin History of the World, J.M. Roberts and Odd Arn Westad. Anyway, so then this also is just going to be a full overview of history. So then I get like a second version by different authors in case there's anything that I miss in the other books. Then we have A People's History of the World from the Stone Age to the New Millennium by Chris Harman. So this is, I think, from like human perspective and not just like a overview of history, but it's also just to like supplement or to be a side like source of information along with everything else. So I'm just really getting that broader story of history first. Sorry, the lighting keeps changing. Okay, we're down to the last couple ones. Okay, then I look super pale and my hair is not good. Okay, so we got philosophy books because I think that also helps with history, and I want to build that understanding, like why we are the way we are today. And I think philosophy is obviously a big part of that. So this is from when I actually took a philosophy class. This is What is Ancient Philosophy by Pierre Hadot. So I kind of read this in that class that I took, but I want to reread it again and understand that ancient philosophy. I didn't really love philosophy in the class, but I want to try to understand it again. Okay, then we have Beyond Good and Evil by Friedrich Nietzsche. And this is really small. This I've just heard is really important to read. It's like a highly recommended book. This is also technically philosophy, right? So yeah, it's kind of just a must read, and I picked it up recently and I would like to give it a try. It's really, really short, so I'll just read this whenever I get the chance. But that's on that next to read. Then this is similar. I only have 2 more. Okay, this is Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules for Life. I don't really need to explain this one if you know about this at all, or you can look it up. It's also self-explanatory by the title, 12 Rules for Life. This has been on my list of books to read for a while, so I just want to try to tackle this at some point, but I know it's a difficult read. So we'll see. Okay, last thing goes along with the history. This is Introductory Readings in Ancient Greek and Roman Philosophy. I said history again. I keep doing this. Philosophy. This is also for my philosophy class. It's obviously not a book, it's like a textbook, but I thought this would be good to go along with the philosophy reading. So, yes, that's everything for, what is this, my spring and summer TBR. I flew through that, so that's everything. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe for the next book video. It's going to be reviews of recent reads. Yeah, anyway, thank you for watching. Goodbye.